You know that weird feeling when something huge happens and suddenly time feels, well, different?
Yeah, like it's stretching or shrinking. It's a strange sensation.
Exactly. Like
Huh.
you can't quite grasp it. Okay, let's unpack that. Today, we're doing a deep dive into that very feeling, looking at it through the work of artist Abdelaziz Taleb.
Specifically, his exhibition, Last Years in Babylon, A Visual Odyssey.
Right. It just wraps up, actually. It ran in Marrakech, Morocco.
Yeah, from May 25th to September 28th, 2024, at the Arab Media Lab project space, which, that location itself says something.
It really does. It speaks to how involved Taleb is in that whole contemporary art scene.
Absolutely. And he's not just one thing, is he?
No, definitely a multi-hyphenate. We're
Yeah.
talking filmmaker, mixed media artist, producer, archivist, curator.
He covers a lot of ground.
He really does.
That-
And he thinks deeply about how we experience things, how we document the world. He was a fellow at the Academy of Media Arts Cologne.
And his films have shown at major festivals, Berlinale, Venice, Rotterdam, Montpellier. So he brings this incredibly rich perspective.
hmm And you can see how all that experience, that diverse background, really feeds into Last Years in Babylon.
Definitely. In this show, he's using photography, video installations, film, all these tools to probe how we experience time. This thing we think is constant, but maybe isn't.
Exactly. So our mission here really is to explore how he uses all these different artistic paths to look at the way time seems to, expand or contract.
Especially based on our own circumstances during those really big, pivotal historical moments.
Yeah. So the core idea, the central concept of the exhibition.
It's this idea that when a major historical event happens, especially one that's unexpected, maybe fragmented and complex, it can just completely mess with our sense of time's flow.
Right. It's like the normal tick-tock just gets
Yeah.
broken, and the present moment suddenly feels like it could go on forever,
The exhibition materials even call it a permanent, unending now.
which is such a striking phrase. It makes you think, doesn't it? How these moments change not just our sense of what's coming next.
But also maybe our connection to the past. Or even any feeling of, like, timelessness. It challenges all of that.
Totally. And what I find really thought-provoking is how he weaves in these themes of longing and loss.
Yes, into this whole exploration of fractured time. He seems to be looking closely at how fragile our memories actually are.
And the sort of inevitability of change that comes with these big disruptions.
It's that feeling that things are just fundamentally different now, isn't it?
It is. But what's also fascinating, and the source material points this out, is this tension.
Ah, yes. Because amidst all the chaos, the confusion of these disrupted moments, Taleb finds beauty.
He does. A kind of quiet resilience, the exhibition calls it.
Exactly. It speaks to, our ability as humans not just to get through tough times, but to find these moments of stillness, maybe even wonder, right in the middle of it all.
Which is quite profound. Now let's talk about his artistic choices, because this is where it gets really compelling for me, the use of CGI.
Computer-generated imagery.
It's not just there for show, is it? It feels really baked into the whole atmosphere he's creating.
Oh, completely. It helps create this almost dreamlike quality. Sometimes it's even a bit unsettling.
How so?
Well, what's really interesting is how the CGI subtly transforms landscapes we might recognize. It gives them this otherworldly feeling, uncanny.
Like something's familiar, but also deeply wrong or different.
Precisely. And that visual disruption mirrors the disruption of time he's exploring. It really makes you question what you're seeing, your perception of reality in those spaces.
It's like looking at the everyday through a slightly warped lens, which perfectly echoes the idea of time itself being warped.
Couldn't put it better.
Now, we should also mention, beyond his own art, Taleb is the founder and director of the Arab Media Lab project.
Yes, that's a really important initiative.
Tell us a bit about that. What's its significance?
Well, it's a pretty major force, actually, in shaping the contemporary art scene, not just in Morocco, but, beyond.
How does it do that?
Through innovative programs, fostering dialogue within the arts community, providing workshops, training, it's a real catalyst for artistic development and exchange.
So he's not just creating his own work, he's actively building a platform for others.
Yeah.
Fostering that conversation.
Exactly. Which gives us even more context for his own vision, I think.
Absolutely. Okay, so we have some images from the exhibition here. I'm really keen to sort of connect them to these ideas we've been discussing.
Great. Let's dive in.
First up, there's one with trees against a beach backdrop, but there's this glowing circle in the background.
Right. What strikes me immediately is that contrast, Organic, natural forms, the trees, the beach looks serene.
Yeah, almost classic.
And then bam, this intensely glowing circle. It feels like a rupture in the scene, almost.
Rupture. Interesting.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, is this how those moments of disrupted time kind of intrude on our familiar worlds, altering even stable environments?
And the light itself is so intense.
Exactly. Maybe symbolizing how disorienting those events can feel, like a surreal clarity breaking through the everyday.
That makes sense. Okay, then there's another image. Quite different. A very stark, concrete room.
I know the one with the glowing rectangular frame inside it.
That's it. It feels really isolating.
It does. The concrete, the enclosed space. It evokes this feeling of being trapped or maybe suspended.
Suspended, yeah.
And that glowing rectangle inside, it's like a window, maybe, onto another reality. Or perhaps it's showing a specific moment that's been pulled out, frozen.
So it really conveys that idea of the unending now we talked about.
I think so, very powerfully, like a single present moment detached from the normal flow, as if time itself has become this tangible thing inside the frame.
Wow. Like a moment held captive. Okay, next up we have a desert landscape. Sparse vegetation, very wide.
And the glowing triangle, hovering among some bare trees.
This, that one.
Well, deserts often make you think of timelessness, right? Vastness. Yeah. So introducing this geometric, almost alien-looking glowing triangle, it's such a stark contrast. It disrupts that natural order.
So maybe it symbolizes a more forceful intervention.
Could be. Something jarring that alters the very fabric of the environment, mirroring a big historical shift or, a temporal upheaval, like nature itself is being overwritten.
Yeah, like a glitch in the matrix, almost.
Yeah.
Okay, then there's an image of a structure, or maybe it's being built, or maybe it's abandoned, overlooking the sea.
And part of it is framed by another glowing rectangle.
Right. What do you make of that one?
This one feels like it's really about the relationship between past, present, and future, especially when time's been disrupted.
How so?
The structure itself, being in flux, suggests transition, but the glowing frame directs our gaze out to the sea, maybe suggesting how our view of the future is still shaped by the past, by the weight of what's happened.
So time feels layered, not just linear.
Exactly. That sense of the past still pressing on the future is really strong there.
Okay. Then there's a beach scene, but it's different. There are scattered objects and these faint glowing lines crisscrossing the sand.
Yes. That one feels quite fragmented, almost like an archaeological site.
Yeah, like remnants.
The scattered objects could be the traces left behind after a moment has passed, and those faint glowing lines, maybe the lingering energy, or the hidden connections between events, even after the initial shock.
It speaks to those complex, maybe invisible forces still at play afterwards.
I think so, like echoes of a big event still subtly shaping the landscape.
Makes sense. Then we have a really striking one. A vintage car, looks like maybe 50s or 60s, surrounded by boats on a beach.
And those glowing triangular forms are there too.
Yes, that one's very dreamlike.
It really is. It pulls together things from different times, different contexts. The car, the boat's familiar objects, but putting them together like that with the glowing triangles on a beach, it feels illogical.
So maybe symbolizing a journey through a distorted timeline?
That's how I see it. Where the usual rules of time and space just don't apply anymore. The car, usually about moving forward, is stuck in this static, almost timeless scene.
Really emphasizes that disjointed feeling. Okay, one last image. A building under construction, but with glowing lines highlighting its framework.
Right. Construction itself is future-oriented, isn't it? Building something new.
Always.
So having those glowing lines trace the structure, maybe it symbolizes how a major historical moment, that heavy present, impacts the very act of creation.
How it influences how the future is literally being built?
Yeah. Brick by glowing brick, almost. The weight of that disrupted time shaping what's next.
It really all circles back beautifully to Taleb's central exploration, doesn't it? How these big, unexpected events just fundamentally change how we perceive time and reality.
Absolutely. And it's so key, as you mentioned, to remember his background. Filmmaking, mixed media, it all informs how he does this.
His interdisciplinary approach is crucial.
Definitely. He masterfully blends visual storytelling, image manipulation, creating these immersive environments. It makes abstract ideas about time feel really visceral, really real.
Okay, so let's try and bring this all together. Abdelaziz Taleb's Last Years in Babylon. It's a really compelling, visually rich exploration of how our personal experience of time gets skewed during major historical shifts.
Yeah, and his work captures those feelings so well, the longing, the loss that comes with those times.
But also finds this surreal, often thought-provoking beauty through his innovative use of, photography, video, and that really striking CGI.
And through this whole visual journey, he really pushes us to think about how these key moments can make the present feel like it lasts forever.
Ultimately questioning our whole understanding of the future and even what timelessness means.
Exactly.
Well, here's something to maybe chew on. Think back to a time in your own life, a time when the flow of time felt genuinely distorted.
Could be anything, a crisis, a moment of intense joy, big personal change.
Right. How did that experience shape not just your memory of that specific time, but also your perspective on everything that came after? It's quite something to consider.
It really is. And if you want to explore Abdelaziz Taleb's work more, or learn about the Arab Media Lab project,
Where should people go?
his website is www.abdelaziztaleb.net, and the lab site is www.arabmedialab.org. They're also on social media, Facebook and Instagram. Just search for Arab Media Lab.
Great. Definitely worth checking out online. And with that, well, we really encourage you to keep thinking about these fascinating themes: time, memory, change in your own lives.